this
And
computer.
what kind of influences can we have for them? What I tell you is this:
What am I hearing? I'm
if
hearing
you
all this
have the
back
anointing,
noise.
you may have nothing,
Oh, I
but
see
you
what
have
it is.
everything.
Okay. Lord have mercy. Okay. Welcome, everybody, to another installment of Survivors, Strivers, and Thrivers. It's been a minute. We're in a new month. May is Mental Health Awareness Month. Everybody done blacked out this. When I said I was recording, everybody went blank. That's they take away from. Doesn't matter. I understand. Anyway, so this is Mental Health Awareness Month, May. So that's how we're doing it. This month, we got two of our speakers on tonight. Although one of them's only going to speak, the other one's going to be next week. And so I wanted to kind of introduce you guys to a good dear friend of mine who was going to share on the topic of codependency, which is a very interesting topic. And I think you guys will learn quite a bit from it. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Nikki Chase, also known as Nairobi. That's what's on her iPad, but we call her Nikki. And so I'm going to read you her bio. Um, Nikki is a registered nurse for over 22 years. She's worked in many different specialties, including psychiatric nursing for 10 years. She has a master's degree in Christian counseling and facilitated many different groups, including groups on codependency. She's been a leader and a teacher in Celebrate Recovery for 5 years, teaching the 12 steps in depth and going through recovery herself. So background, Nikki and I met actually back in 2007, I think it was, where she was leading a Bible study at a local gym. And I thought that was very unique that we had a Bible study at a gym. That's when I first met Nikki. And I fell in love with her ever since then. She's a great teacher, and she's just a wonderful friend. From that initial meeting, we connected as kindred spirits spiritually. We served together and Celebrate Recovery. We actually were one of the first leaders that went into Celebrate Recovery together. We served not only in Celebrate Recovery at our home church, we also served in Celebrate Recovery in the prisons and Celebrate Recovery inside in the local detention centers. We've been away to retreats together. We've served together. She's been at my wedding. She's been a part of my life, spiritually and as a friend for many, many years. So when we talk about this topic of codependency, she knows what she's talking about. So I think you guys will be blessed by what she has to say. It's a really important topic. And without further ado, I am going to introduce you to Nikki Chase. Take it away, Nikki.
Woohoo!
That's cute. Crazy.
Well, thanks for letting me join your group. Lisa has told me many wonderful things about this group, and so I'm just thankful that she wanted to invite me to come and be a part of her group. And just the positivity when I listened to some of the other podcasts, and it's all about self-care. And that's the thing about codependency. It's the opposite of self-care. So this is a good topic because sometimes people don't realize that they are codependent. So just a little bit about my journey with codependency. Like Lisa said, we were doing Celebrate Recovery. We were one of the first leaders at our church, Trinity, to start Celebrate Recovery. And a part of that leadership team, we had to go through the 12 steps for ourselves before we can be facilitators for other people. And so part of that, I was going through the 12 steps. And then I realized on that journey that I was not putting God first in my life. I was putting other people first in my life. I was allowing them to control my life, my thinking, my thoughts, my behaviors, and that this was a pattern of behavior that I had started since I was a young child. So in order to start, putting God first and realize that I'm powerless and that I had to put God first and trust in him, then I had to really delve into my codependency. Another thing too that helped me realize about codependency was I went to Saddleback Church in California, which is Rick Warren's church, where we would study about Celebrate Recovery. And one of the teachers there was Henry Cloud and John Townsend. And they talked about codependency in their book that they wrote about boundaries. And when I listened to them, I realized this is me. I have no boundaries with other people. And so, so with that, I delved more into what codependency was. I went through the 12 steps and I realized that, you know, that I had this issue going on in my life. So I seek counseling for myself. I also started reading more books about it. I started studying about it. And what I came to realize is that codependency is a dysfunctional way, a pattern of behavior that really starts out of a lack of self-esteem, a lack of self-love, a lack of self-acceptance. And it can be disguised. It can be disguised as, oh, I'm just taking care of people. Oh, I'm just a nurse. And, you know, this is my job. This is what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to take care of others. A lot of nurses are codependents.
Really?
And so, and it's a way to hide that behavior, you know, of, you know, that you want to take care of people, but there's an unhealthy way of doing that. So one of the things that I learned that, you know, it comes from when I was a child, I felt abandoned by my father. I felt unworthy because of some trauma that happened to me as a child, and that I needed to grow from that. And the way to do that was to be in recovery for codependency. So that's my journey. And so from there, I started to learn more about it. So if anybody in the group, I'm more of a person where I like to talk to people and I like to ask questions. So does anybody else have those feelings like they like to caretake people? They like to take care of other people, or whenever someone has a problem, they feel like they need to fix the problem.
Now, if we was in a Facebook Live group, I would have more people, but I can't see anybody on here because they got to be logged into Zoom tonight. That's the only problem tonight is with this. So what you got is what you got. Kim and Marcy and Dion, who's with family right now, so she can't say
Okay.
anything.
Oh, okay. Okay. Mhm.
Yeah, I'm driving though. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah,
Yes,
she wants
yes.
to know, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I'm thinking. Well, I'm in the helping profession. Hi, Nikki. I'm Kim. I'm a
Hi,
clinician,
Kim.
and so
Mhm.
I'm in the helping professions as well. And I know one of the things that I had struggled with until the last couple of years was making intimate relationships into like I would pick up projects and deem it as intimate relationships. But I was always, I don't want to use always, but for the most part, helping people, I was with people that really needed to kind of pick themselves up. And I found myself doing a whole lot of expending of energy, encouraging, motivating, pushing to make them better. And I know that wasn't right. I couldn't really explain it all the time, but people have said to me, well, why do you seem to pick up these needy people, right? And I just, I used to be like, well,
It's not funny. It's not funny. It's not funny.
Huh?
We didn't mean to laugh. It's not funny, but it was the way you said it.
No, listen.
It's the truth.
It's okay. It's the truth, and I'm okay with it, for real. And this stuff happens, and it happens to the best of us. It happens to the most educated, skilled. It happens.
Yep.
And so, yeah, let's talk about that. So
Yep.
now I'm definitely more cognizant of it. And even my last relationship, I was like, wait a minute, I'm doing X, Y, and Z. Why am I with this person again? Then one day I just looked at them and said, I don't want to be in this relationship anymore. I'm not getting anything out of it. I'm not getting my needs met. You are draining me for every bit of energy I have, and this is not healthy for me.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes.
so
And that's one of the things with codependency is that we realize it's like a switch goes off in your head that every relationship that I'm in, I'm the one who's doing all the work. And I find these
Yes.
needy men. I used to meet the most neediest men I could find. I'm telling you, and I would be like, I'm going to
Thank you,
fix him.
Nikki.
I'm
Thank
going
you.
to fix
Yes.
him. I'm going to make him better.
We're
I'm going to make him the
better.
best. I'm going to make him
Yes.
better. I'm going to make
I'm just
him
gonna clean him up. I'm gonna
I'm
fix him up.
exactly wash him down,
Glad you can relate.
and he's going to be better. And what that is that is codependency. You know, it's that we feel as though that we need to help people, but that is not, it's unhealthy for it. That person can't help themselves because
Right.
we're doing the work for them. So we have crossed the boundaries.
Yep.
We have crossed the boundaries. So we have our boundaries and they have their boundaries, and they need to help themselves. But we feel as though because we're special that we can help them. And that really stems from, sometimes, I know for me, it stems from that need as a child of wanting to be wanted. It was a
Yes.
way that I dealt with my
Yep.
family. I wanted to be wanted. I wanted to be wanted by my father who had to leave. I wanted to be wanted by my mother. And so when wanted to be wanted and I got something out of it, it's like you feel like empowered. Oh, this person loves me.
Yes.
This person wants me. Oh, wow. You
They
know what I
need
mean?
me, or
They
they
need
need
me.
me.
They
Yes.
need me. So it makes you feel good. It makes you feel good. So you're like, oh, so it's like, it becomes an addiction, actually.
It does.
Codependency is an addiction. It becomes another term for, some people use the term relationship addiction,
Yep.
Yep.
because that
Oh, yeah.
feeling is a good positive, it's a good feeling for you, but it's unhealthy because it doesn't
Until-
help. It doesn't help the
until
other
it be-
person.
It's
And
a
it,
good
like
feeling
you
until
said,
it becomes draining. And
it's
then you
draining.
know you have something that I think that's, you said a mouthful,
Exactly.
Nikki. So let me just like pack this up a little bit. You said a mouthful. So I want to make sure everybody understands, especially those who don't read about or know about it. So what you're saying is that a lot of times it stems from our childhood or some past trauma we've had in our life.
Mhm.
And we feel the need to be needed. A lot of it could be neglect. I know for me, I'll come back to that later. It could be neglect, it could be abuse, it could be whatever we felt that we didn't get, or we weren't in a new term they use is protected environments as children where we
Mhm.
feel safe. And so we grow up and we turn to people as projects. Now, here's the key that I think is important, because I remember you and I had this conversation years ago when you used to think you was a savior. It's a God complex. Another
It's a
term
God
for it is
complex.
God complex. And
Yep.
another term for it is enablers.
Enable.
So let's talk about what's the difference, or what does enabling look like in codependency and different relationships. And so that the listeners are clear, we're not just talking about romantic relationships, ladies.
Right.
Codependency shows up in
Oh,
family
yeah.
relationships. Let's talk about your relationship, who you was codependent. It wasn't just the men in your life. You was also codependent with your mom, with your mother.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
it happens with siblings, parents, lovers, and children, especially children. So I'll talk about, go ahead. So tell me, what does enabling look like?
So when you enable other people, one of the things is that they can't take care of themselves. So you feel as though that you have to take care of all those needs. I would meet these, like in a romantic way, I would meet these men who didn't have jobs. So I would feel as though I needed to take care of them. I just needed to help boost them up a little bit. So I would meet their needs as far as, financially. I would meet their needs that if they felt sad, or if they felt, I would take on that sadness. I would take it on. And that's where the problem really comes on. And when they would feel like they couldn't do something, I would go out and do it for them, but that doesn't help them become the person that God has called them to be. When you do that, when you enable, when you take away their right, when you take away their volition, when you take away, their ability to be the best male or female or whoever it is in your life that God has called them to be. And that's not your role.
I was going to say, Nikki, can I add that it also takes away our opportunity to work on us and look at us. Sometimes
Exactly.
we use that because we either don't like ourselves, or we don't want to deal with our own stuff.
Yes.
So
And that's where the root cause is a lack of self-love self-acceptance. You know, that something is rooted in you, that inside you, your core belief, they're belief systems, but they're core belief systems, that I'm not worthy of love, that I'm not worthy of, you know, of love because of what has happened to me maybe as a child or whatever. I'm not worthy. And because of that, that's how we work around that by caretaking for others. And it's just like you said, that way I don't have to put the mirror on myself and focus on my needs, my wants, and you know, what makes me happy.
Or what things I need to improve, my character defects.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So yeah, because that's scary. Not everybody's insightful. That
Right.
comes, and some people are intuitively insightful. So let's go back to the helping professions now that you opened that can of worms, because 3 out of 6 of us on here are helping profession. I guess I consider myself because I'm a mental health coach and I do mental health first aid, but I didn't go into that occupation. You, Marcy and Kim are both social workers and you're a nurse. Do you count, what other professions you think are more inclined to be codependents? And tell me again, about, you said the majority of nurses are codependents. Does that mean even other helping professions are codependents? So that's why they get into those professions, you think?
Well, the thing with nursing, I can only speak for nurses, is that, you know, one of the things with nursing, you have to, when you take care of people, a lot of times, especially what I'm noticing now, is that you take care of a variety of things. You have to call the social worker. You have to you have to go to the doctors for them. You have to take care of their physical needs, and you don't trust the process. You try to take care of all these needs for them. And it's just a way to mask, I can take care of them, so that means I don't have to worry about feeling for myself. I don't have to worry about thinking about myself because I'm thinking about other people. And
Mm.
that's the piece of it, is that, like like she said, Kim, like Kim said, is that you don't have to think about yourself because you don't want to think about yourself. You don't want to know what your needs are. Have anybody seen that movie, Runaway Bride, with Julia Roberts?
Oh yeah, every time she got in a committed
Every time
relationship,
she got into a new relationship,
she would
she would
sabotage.
she would take on one. First thing she would do is whatever they like, she liked.
Oh,
Whatever eggs they eat, she ate. Whatever job they wanted to do, she wanted to do it. She just wanted, so she never had her own sense of self. And when she realized, she would run away. Then she would run away when it just became so overwhelming and draining for her. Until the end, when she finally realized who she was as a person and what kind of person she wanted, what kind of eggs she liked, what kind of job she liked. You know what I mean? So that's the thing, is that it focusing on the other people, it's so we don't have to focus on ourselves. And nursing is especially a great profession where you can focus on other people.
Well, you know, social workers
And social
Marcy,
oh my goodness.
Marcy knows, social
Oh my
workers are notorious. Are you kidding me?
Oh my goodness, they are the saviors. They are the saviors. They find housing. They found
We
everything.
wear the cape. We
Oh
wear
my
the
goodness.
cape on our back. We are
Exactly.
there. We come out before we even come out of grad school. We're saying we're gonna save the world.
Exactly. Mhm.
Everybody.
Absolutely.
So yeah,
Yep.
we are
Yes.
notorious for that.
Mhm.
so here's,
Absolutely.
how do you know that you're a codependent? I mean, one of our attendees put a chat in the chat box.
Mhm. Mhm.
Said she just found out about codependency when she was in therapy a couple years ago. She didn't realize she was busy caring for others and not herself. But how does somebody know that they may be potentially codependent? What kind of symptoms show up?
One of the things is that you believe that your happiness depends on another person's well-being.
Is that conscious or unconscious?
It's unconscious. It's unconscious. It's like, so you're in a relationship with, so like Lisa said about my mother, my mother, she can try to be in a codependent relationship with me, and I have to have set boundaries with her. But when she's unhappy, I have to be unhappy. If she's happy, I'm happy. So my needs, so if my feelings are based on her feelings, it's not based on my own feelings. It's based on her feelings.
So if somebody's so for some people who really don't really understand, kind of break it down with how would that look? It's like if somebody I'm caring about and having a relationship, let's just say it's a child,
Mhm.
and when your child is going through a tough time, and every time they're going through a tough time, you take on those feelings. Like you feeling heavy because they're feeling heavy. They're having a bad day.
Exactly.
All of a sudden, you're like, oh my God,
You're having
that
you're
person's
having a
having
bad
this.
day.
I'm having a bad day.
So you got to have a bad day.
It's not,
When
it's
they're
not
up, you're
conscious
up.
though, but it's a feeling that you have
It's a-
because
right.
somebody else, it could be a relationship, but it could be a family person. It could even be friends. Friends have codependency relationships too. What does that look like in friendships? Do you know what that would look like?
And friendships also, another thing too you may do is that you don't share your true self with them. So let's say your friends say, I hate apples, and you say, I hate apples too, but you really like apples. You know what I'm saying? So when you don't tell what your true thoughts and your true feelings are, and when someone tells you that they don't like something or that they like something, and you agree with them, even though it's not true, and that's when you know that you're taking on their feelings, their thoughts, and you're not being true to your true self. And that's what codependency is. It's a lie. It's basically you're living a lie. You're not living who Nikki really is. What Nikki really wants, what Nikki really needs is what the other person really wants, what the other person really needs. And you're trying to control another thing.
That's what I was going to ask you. Tell us about control, because what you're talking about is taking on needs, but codependency also shows up as control. So tell us what that looks like.
So another thing is you try to control what other people think or feel by going around certain situations. You're not, you may start taking over the things that they want to do or don't want to do, and you want to take over. Let's say you have a child who's in trouble, or you have my mother has a lot of health problems or whatever, and I control every. She's even said I'm trying to control every aspect of her life, and instead of allowing her to do that and the things that she can do, trying to take over the things that she can do, and it's not healthy for them. When you're trying to control those things,
because then you are enabling,
and you're enabling
one and two,
and so you also, it's either you trying to caretake or you trying to people please. That's another thing too, is people pleasing. So I need to another woman, she once said that when somebody's in trouble and say, oh, I don't have any food in my house, so she goes and buys all this food. She didn't have the money to buy it, but she wants to people please and make that person feel good. And even though she didn't really have the means to do it, you know what I mean? It's just so that person can feel good. And in turn, it's really an addiction, so you can feel good.
We have a hand raised. Go ahead. I always say your name wrong.
It's okay, Diane.
Oh, Diane.
Yeah. I wanted to piggyback off of something that you just shared about doing things not necessarily because you want to do them, but because somebody else wants you to. So ironically, I had a situation with my therapist recently. And so I basically fired my therapist this week. And I was able to do that because of the work I've done so far with her. But I realized that she is in a space that's not healthy. And so a couple of weeks ago, she invited me to a training on Zoom that the company was doing where I get my services. And I got on a training and I'm thinking they're going to talk about goal settings and, that kind of thing. And immediately she texts me and tells me to be the salt on this call. And I told her I didn't feel comfortable sharing. I didn't know the people. I just got on. And she kept pushing, texting me, telling me, share your story. You can minister to other people. You got a great story. And I still told her I wasn't comfortable. And we went back and forth for a while. In the end, she felt like I was being harsh in what I said. And I read the text thread like 4 or 5 times, even sent it to somebody I know who is a therapist. And I didn't say the text was from my therapist. I just said, read this. And the person said to me, this person is not understanding or respecting your boundaries And in the end, when they didn't get what they want, they made it about you. And so when I went back to therapy the following week, I brought it up. And this is what she said. When somebody tells you you've hurt them, you don't get to decide if they did or didn't.
That's right.
And so I apologize. Under that principle, I apologize. But the more I thought about it, I said, no, she manipulated me into an apology because you can look at that principle and say, yes, that's the way to go. But she knew that she was wrong. And she has the power over me because she is my therapist. And so she did something else that was out of pocket the following week. And it caused me to have a meeting with her supervisors and to speak up. And normally I would have never done that. But I'm in a space where I'm like
Advocating.
Advocating for yourself.
Like this.
Absolutely.
You learned about me in therapy and use it against me because I wouldn't let you do what you want to do. You know, she do stuff in my therapy sessions that shouldn't be done, like walking around her house, doing stuff, washing clothes, putting away groceries, cooking dinner.
That's unethical. That's unethical.
It is.
And you actually could call the board on her, to be honest. I know you probably wouldn't do that, but oh, you did?
Yeah, I reported all of that to her supervisor and the manager of her company. So they're in the process of finding me a new therapist. But the reason why I brought it up to them this week, because after what happened in the last therapy session, I was like, I still feel like she manipulated me to apologize. And when I sent them the text thread, they still didn't see what I did wrong. So I was like, see, I knew what my gut was telling me, but I apologized because of that principle. That is true. When somebody say you hurt them, you don't get to tell them that you didn't. However, she was being manipulative.
And that's like Lisa was asking me, are there professions that people go into that are codependent? Is therapy, to be a therapist. And the thing is, though, she needs to have accountability, a supervisor that she should go to, and she should have rewarded you for standing up for yourself, for setting those boundaries, instead of, like you said, using what she knew about you to break you down in order to get what she wanted, which is, what she needed. So that's the thing. And so it's good that you recognize that in her and recognize that you were growing as a, you were getting better and getting stronger, and that she broke a boundary. Because a lot of times too, it's really important to know what boundaries are and what they aren't.
Can you give the definition of boundaries for people who really don't know it?
So boundaries are that you are responsible for your thoughts, your feelings, your actions, your needs, and other people are responsible for their thoughts, their feelings, their actions, and their needs. And so not to blame other people for your thoughts. And boundaries also includes being able to share share your thoughts, share what you need, be able to say to someone, this is what I need, this is what I don't need. Also be able to say no to people.
That's a big one. Say it again.
That's a big one, right?
Say it again for those in the back of the room.
That's it.
The positive no. That's a biggie. That's where the people pleasing come into, because people don't know how to say no. And they do it because they're approval seeking, or people. There's two parts: approval seeking and people pleasing. There's two parts of that: approval seeking and people pleasing. Right. Say it again for those in the back of the room. Let's talk about boundaries.
Yes. So that's the thing, is that you have to be able to say no, that no, I do not want this. No, I don't like this. Like I was telling you about, the woman in the movie, she wasn't able to do that. When the guy says, I like scrambled eggs, she said, I like scrambled eggs. She didn't like scrambled eggs. But to be able to say, no, this is what I like, this is what you like, to be able to separate yourself from the next person, that's healthy. But when codependents, they mesh their boundaries. When you get enmeshed with somebody and get into toxic relationships, especially with narcissistic people, one of the things with codependency is that they can be in relationships with people who are narcissists. And narcissists love that attention, love for you to want to be with them, love for you to praise them, love for you to, that's what they need. And the codependent, they eat that stuff up.
Well, that's why you and I became friends, Nikki.
Exactly. So that's the thing is that, so you got to recognize that, to set healthy boundaries, to have, healthy self-esteem, to be able to say, this is where you begin and where I end. And also too, if you disagree with somebody, it's okay. It's okay to have disagreements. It's okay that someone is hurting. That doesn't mean you have to hurt. That doesn't mean that, you can be you can be empathetic with somebody without being
Feeling guilty.
unhealthy, feeling guilty or unhealthy.
Yep.
Mhm.
So that's the key.
But
And a lot of people don't recognize it is that they're typically codependents. And just full disclosure, I have codependency tendencies. When I first met Nikki, we used to talk about this a lot. And I was like, I'm too narcissistic to be a codependent. It's all about Lisa, which I was. But ironically, you could go from being self-centered, which I was, to become a codependent, which I have. And so that's what, because I thought once you are, you're always the same, but that's not true. So I have gone from being self-centered to now in certain aspects of my relationships, codependency. And I recognize that. And thank God, Nikki and I are accountability partners. So we check each other on things like that. When I know I'm not right or something's not right, I call Nikki, she tells me, and she said, and then she asks those kind of questions. She'll say, now, why are you doing that? And it makes me think. But I say all that to say is that, again, approval seeking, people pleasing, the negative emotions that come out of codependency is guilt. There's a whole lot of guilt. They codependents feel guilty all the time.
And
Why is
shame.
that? And shame.
Mm-hmm.
But it seems to be more guilt than shame. Remember we used to say before? I said self-centered people are shameful. They carry shame. Codependents carry guilt.
Mm-hmm.
Because self-absorbed people do things that make them shameful. They're not necessarily feel guilty because they're like, it's all about me, so I don't feel guilty for what I do. But codependents are always people pleasing and approval seeking, so they feel guilty when they have to set up a boundary or they do something that doesn't please other people. Am I correct in that?
Because I think too, it goes back to that complex, that God complex, that I'm supposed to be helping people. I am the savior of the world. I was put here to save everybody. And if I'm not doing that, then I feel guilty because I'm not doing, because that's my quote unquote job. Even if you're not in the healthcare profession, that's my job is to do, and I'm not. And so you can feel guilty that you're not doing these things, that you're not helping someone, that if somebody came and asked you to do something and you don't have the time, you can't do it. And you say, no, you start to feel guilty about it because you feel like that's what I'm supposed to do. That's my, and something's wrong if I'm not doing it. And I think, and that again, that stems from that coping mechanism that we learned as a child when we were faced with whatever trauma or, issue, abandonment issue, neglect issue as a child. And we used to, and another thing.
I'm sorry, Nikki, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead.
No, I was just going to add in the other piece where the feelings of rejection when that person goes off and gets assistance from somewhere else, from somebody else.
Oh,
you're
yes.
the one. Yeah, I'm like, come on now. Come on. Let's preach on that now. That feeling of rejection, getting angry. Because when you set boundaries, I'm telling you, people start to change. They start to make you feel all kind of way because they can't accept the fact that you are now setting the boundaries. But there are a lot of rejection, feelings of rejection. And that also bring on other feelings when you're not in, the one doing the saving of that person.
When you're not needed anymore. No longer needed.
When you don't feel needed.
When you don't feel needed. Yes.
Mhm.
I knew a guy, I'll say nameless, who made it his mission to be a savior to certain women who were, broken. And when they were built up to a certain point and they didn't need him anymore, he sabotaged the relationships and bounced out of it. And it was like a pattern with him. We would get into these relationships with women who were not, who always needy. Let's just call it what it is.
Mhm.
And that made him, I used to call it this, the God complex or the savior complex. And then he would just drop them and just like drop them because they were at the point like that. And then he went on to this next project. But it seems to be a cycle with people like that. It's like you feel the need, and then when the person doesn't need you anymore, you feel rejection. So you act out in ways. What is it?
Because you don't know how to handle it.
So what does that acting
Don't
out
know
look
how to
like?
handle
What does that look like in relationships when you feel that you're no longer needed anymore?
I think it's like you said, you either one self-sabotage or you dig in deeper
Ooh, and become
And
more
you could-
clingy.
and
So you
become
become
more,
a clingy person.
you become even more clingy. You become even, I can do more for you. I could, because you want to continue to feel that feeling.
When the person
Or-
doesn't need you anymore.
Exactly, when the person, or you can, like you said, sabotage the relationship, and then, jump to someone else who do need you.
Mm. I was just going to say, is it women who are more codependent than men? But I just realized I do know a couple of codependent men that I know. So it seems to be both ways. It's gender neutral.
I think it can be both ways.
Okay. But do we happen to see women who, I mean, I do know some codependent men, but I have a feeling women seem to be more, because we're groomed to be caretakers.
Because we have that nurturing. But see, that's the thing, is we've turned what God has given us innately, that nurture, into something unhealthy. Because God gives us that nurture inside of us, because we, the childbearing, child rearing, so we can turn that into something negative and something overbearing instead of, what it's supposed to be.
Marcia,
And
just told you
men men often don't talk about things like that.
Oh, they'll never. They don't
So
recognize it. They don't recognize it, and they don't talk about it. I have a good friend who is like that, and I have the one to be telling, and he's a social worker. I said, why do you keep choosing women like that? And then he never thought of it like that. But it was just, it just seemed like he was finding women that were broken and needy. And I just said, that doesn't seem like it's working for you. It doesn't seem like it's, it's healthy. It's not healthy. So, Nikki, so tell us, so give us some tips and tricks. How can, if we identify any things that we've talked about today, and again, I know I'm developing codependency. You're my accountability partner. I call you if I have any challenges, and I'm working on it. But what can we do? And do you have any resources? Where can we go for help?
Well, like you said, the first thing is, like you said, get an accountability partner, someone who is going to tell you the truth. Not someone who is going to lie to you. Someone who is going to say, Nikki, you got some problems.
Or co-sign. They say co-sign on it with you.
Right. No, you don't want someone who's going to co-sign. You want somebody who's going to get an accountability partner to tell you the truth. Another thing too is to begin to have a honest self-evaluation of yourself. You know what I mean? Not sugarcoated, but to actually be honest with yourself. Another thing too is to develop a healthy self-esteem. One of the things, like your group, is, practicing self-care, practicing self-love, practicing self-acceptance. One of the things that really helped me, I had started going to a CODA meeting at some point. I had started going to this Codependency Anonymous, which is a great resource. They have information online, and they still run groups. And it's free, of course, but on Codependency Anonymous. And one of the things that really, really helped me, I thought, was affirmations, positive affirmations, because it was very hard for me to say those things to myself. And I didn't realize that until the group forced me to do that. And then I realized, wow, I can't even say this to myself out loud. And so how do I even internalize that? Wow. So one of the things too is, like, have positive affirmations. Join a support group. Like you have this group, but I'm a true believer in Celebrate Recovery.
Well, we love Celebrate Recovery.
To also, like I said, join a support group. Another thing too, like we talked about, learn to say no. No is not a dirty word. It's a healthy word. Even
Nikki,
God. Sure, sure.
Sorry, Nikki, I'm driving, so.
That's okay, sure.
No, go ahead. I'm gonna wait.
No, go ahead, act. Mhm,
I was gonna say, hey, this is really to piggyback off of your affirmations.
mhm,
Journaling. Journaling can be really helpful because sometimes we don't see the patterns.
mhm.
And for those that may be comfortable or okay with writing, I think journaling is one very therapeutic, but it also allows you to look back and you
Mhm.
can see trends. You can see patterns in your behavior. Well, why every
Right.
time he said this or they said this, I did this? I'm
Mhm.
noticing a pattern here.
Right. Mhm. Yeah,
So
absolutely.
that can be used as a
Mhm,
tool
mhm,
as well.
mhm, mhm.
I've been journaling since I was 15. I'm just afraid that when I die, someone's going to find them. I need to bury them.
So it sounds like a book, Lisa.
No,
Sounds
it
like a
ain't.
book. Sounds like a book.
Well, so yeah, journaling is, I agree with that. That goes hand in hand with affirmations. I think the two should go together. It's a great
Yep.
way of healing and starting the
Mhm,
healing process.
Oh yeah.
Anything else you'd like to add, Nikki? We talked about finding an accountability partner, finding a support group, affirmations, journaling. What else do you think?
Another thing too is learning how to express your needs to others without fear of abandonment. You can start
Wow.
off with people who are really close to you that you trust. Like, like for me, like Lisa, you know, and then being able to take away that fear of, if they say no, or if they reject me, or if they leave me, I'm okay. I'm okay. So to be able to express yourself, learn how to be assertive. That's another thing for a codependent. Assertive is a dirty word. It's like,
Yep.
but that's the thing, is learn how to be, to be assertive. Another thing too is to be able to communicate your needs to others. You have to learn how to communicate your needs without complaining, blaming, or judging. Just being able to say that I am, this is what I need from you.
Or I am hurt, and expressing your
right.
authentic feeling.
Yeah.
That's hard. I'm gonna be honest with you. I have a hard time doing that. And you're right. I never saw that the way you just described it, being able to say what I need without blaming and shaming and judging.
Right. And accept that if that person cannot, if you tell that person that and they cannot do it, that's okay. I can meet my own needs.
That's a biggie right there. What
And
you
that's
just said.
Right. And that's another thing too, is that other people, just like, what you're saying in your group here with self-care, is that if other people you're an adult, you can meet your own needs. And that's another thing, is not to have other people, feel like that they need to meet your needs. You can do that for yourself. And it all starts with that.
That's a biggie. That's a biggie.
Another thing too is don't feel like you need to explain yourself to others. If you say no, that's no. It's not no, but I need to tell you why it's no. It's because I ran a mile today, and then I did this today, and then that's why I'm saying no. No.
So do
no,
you think that's
no.
also a symptom of to feel the need to explain yourself?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a good one, to feel the need to explain yourself every time you tell somebody. Yeah. Okay.
And if somebody has a problem with that, what I say all the time is, I'm in recovery for codependency and I'm not going back.
You always use that one. You be throwing that out there, be like, girl, you be using that just to get people off your back. I like that one.
And as you start to set boundaries, be ready to lose people. You may lose friends, you may lose family. Absolutely. And when that happens, that means you're doing something right.
Exactly.
Because they can no longer push your boundaries.
Push your boundaries, yes. Right.
Wow.
I know.
And that goes
to good stuff.
With setting a boundary and keeping that boundary too. It's like, don't keep moving the boundary.
Exactly.
Set the boundary and keep it. and know why you set the boundary, because this is where you feel safe at. This is where you feel healthy at. And that's why you
Yep.
said it. That's why you said it.
Absolutely.
And don't say,
And
well, I
one-
need to move it now because I need, to accommodate them. No, it's not this is for
Right.
you.
Wow.
And there was one time I have one really, well, I got several good examples, but this is a good one. So I was close with someone who was just late. They were chronically late all the time. And we're not talking 15, 20 minutes. We're talking hours.
Mhm.
And I started saying, you know what, I'm going to start leaving you. I'm going to start leaving you. It got to the point where we were going to go to Mexico, and the person was dragging their feet. We end up missing the flight. I stood in the airport and I cried like a baby. And I was really crying because I was upset with myself
Mhm.
because I did not stick to my boundary. The boundary was, if I give you a certain amount of time and you're not ready,
Mhm.
I'm leaving. I
Mhm.
didn't leave. We missed the flight.
Right.
Yeah. That's a,
Ever
yeah.
since then, it's like, you know what? I need to stick to that boundary with that person. And they
Right.
would get upset. They would get angry, curse me out. Okay, you're not ready. I'm leaving. Because I already told you,
Mhm.
you know?
Mhm.
So it can be hard.
Yes.
It can really be hard. But it is necessary.
For your health. Don't forget, ladies, we're talking about mental health, and why we're talking about codependency, because believe it or not, that's part of your mental health, emotional health.
Absolutely.
And most people are unaware that they're codependent. They wonder why they feel overwhelmed, why they feel resentment, why they feel bitterness, why they feel guilty when they're in contact with certain people, why they feel a need to control people's actions and behaviors because the people are disappointing them or not meeting their expectations. Well, it's not the other person. It starts with you.
Yep. Mhm. Mhm.
Yep. And feeling unfulfilled.
And feeling
Exactly.
You know,
feeling worn out.
That's a big one.
Feeling unappreciated. You know, when people go, I do everything for that person and this is how they treat me. Well, you put yourself in that situation unwittingly, and then you feel guilt, or you try to make other people feel guilt, whatever it is. It's a vicious cycle. And so this is part of our mental health, and we really need to take a look and start with ourselves as well. Oh, you gave a lot of tips. Anything else you want to add to that? And then give us some resources, book resources. Nikki's a reader. She's an avid reader, and she has a library on codependency.
Yes. Woo-hoo!
Well, like I said, the one, the book that I think is the best is Boundaries. The book, The Boundaries by
Townsend.
John Townsend and Henry Cloud. That's one of the best books. Another one, I think Lisa said someone in the group is reading, is Codependency No More by Melody Beattie. She is one of the leaders in, codependency recovery. She's also, after that book, she wrote another, Letting Go, and it's like a workbook. That one is also a good one. Pia Melody.
Pia Melody, that's right. She's been in that game for a minute.
She also wrote a book called Breaking Free, a recovery handbook for codependency.
I remember
and
her.
she also wrote Facing Codependency. So those two are really good ones.
Let me
that I
add to
recommend.
that. Joyce Myers did a book years ago called People Pleasing and Approval Seeking. I lent it to one of you girls and I never got it back. I don't know which one got it, but I always remember that book by Joyce Myers. It was called People Pleasing and Approval Seeking. And so, we got somebody coming into the room just as we get ready to wind down, Lord. So it's a really good book. So whoever has it, please give it back because I need to get it. I need it right now. So yeah, People Pleasing, Approval Seeking. Good resources.
Another thing too that I want to stress too is, what does you got to ask yourself, what does sobriety from codependency looks like for me? If you're a type of person who's in toxic relationships with men, then what does sobriety looks like for you? That means that you're not in a toxic relationship. You're in a healthy relationship. And what does that look like? Because like we've mentioned, sometimes it's disguised and you don't know that you're in it. A lot of it's subconscious that's going on. So if you tell yourself, this is what I want, this is what sobriety means to me, is when I'm able to express myself honestly with people, if I'm able to say no to people, if I'm able to hold people to, the boundary that I've set to them. And if I'm doing those things, then I am, then I'm in recovery. So if you don't know what that looks like for you, if that's, a relationship with like a male-female relationship, or a relationship with a friend, or a
Or
relationship
family.
with a family member, you have to know what does that look like for me and my, like, let's say it's you and your child, or you and your husband, or you and your mother, what does that look like for me? Like, just to say myself, like my mother, she will try to get me all the time. She'll call me up, she'll, having attacks, panic attacks. She wants, when she's feeling sad, she wants me to feel sad. So I have to hold a boundary and know what, that's what she's going through, try to help her through it, but that's not what I'm going through.
Mm.
So, I need to know what that looks like for me and my mother versus me and my boyfriend, or me and my friend, or, know what it looks like for you, so you can know, okay, did I meet that goal today, or did I not? And how can I do, what I need to do differently tomorrow?
Ooh, whoa. This was a good one. Nikki, I mean, I don't even know what to say. I needed to hear it for myself. When I called you up and said, Nikki, can you, she don't even come on Facebook. That's what friends will do. She's not a Facebook girls, lady. She don't come on Facebook. And I said, can you come in my group and talk about? And Nikki said, sure. Just because you love me, right, Nikki?
Of course.
And it's a healthy love. It's not codependent. But I needed to hear this. I think more than for you guys, I really needed, because I started seeing I'm starting to develop codependency tendencies, which, if you remember, girl, we used to talk about this all the time. I used to laugh and call you a codependent, and I was a narcissist, self-centeredness. And we used to talk about this in our groups that we were facilitating. And I was like, oh, I don't have that issue. Now I do. But I recognize it. And so I thank God for Nikki and her teaching on this and her journey, which I can relate to, and so many of us. And Kim, thank you for chiming in for your perspective on it, and all the ladies that came on. It was really great. Any other questions before we wrap this up? Claudette, you came on late, but I'm going to post it in a group, so you'll get, I recorded it, so we're going to post it in a group for what you catch. But does anybody have a question for Nikki before we close out? I'm looking in the chat. Marcy,
Nikki, that was a great presentation, Nikki.
Thank
you.
Really
and if
Lisa,
you guys want me, I can I did make a PowerPoint, and I can give it to you, Lisa, if you want me to, put it on your site, and you can post it,
and I'll
the
post
PowerPoint.
It. Yeah, I think because some people are visual, so if you send it to me, I'll definitely post it in a group, because I put files and stuff, and if you could put a resource list together for me, that would be helpful, with links to Codependency Anonymous, those books that you have. That definitely would be good with that as well. Add that to the PowerPoint, because they like resources. I want to give everybody as much resources as possible. Any self-care tips? I mean, other than the affirmation stuff, other things that you think about self-care that people would close this out? Self-care tips that you would say for the ladies?
Like I said, affirmations are good. And like, like your friend said, journaling is also good. Also having a recovery plan for you is good. Also having that accountability partner. If you don't have one, get one. Someone who can, that is also good. Those things will keep you on track. And also too, if today you're not doing well, you're having a bad day, tomorrow's another day. We can, try again,
Yeah, that's so important. That's definitely so important. So I appreciate you, Nikki, for all you do. Continue doing what you're doing in your journey. For those who came on late, once this recording ends, I'm going to convert it, and then I'll post it. Hey, Donna, how you doing? Kim, Donna's on. We all know one another.
Hi, Jay.
You guys have been great. This again is Mental Health Awareness Month. I want you ladies to really practice self-care. Next week, Kim, I think you're on next Saturday.
I'm on with trauma.
With trauma. So next week, we're going to talk about trauma and how it impacts. A lot of us don't realize trauma, what it looks like in our adult life, and how it shows up. So we're going to talk about that then. So please tune in next Sunday. I think I'll post information. I'm getting my days mixed up. In the meantime, if you tweet chat, let us wish Nikki a thank you. Yay! Nikki, you were so great. We appreciate you. Happy Mother's Day to all of you guys. Enjoy yourselves. And I will look for the links and the resources. And everybody have a great evening. Thank you so much. Survivors, strivers, and thrivers. We're keeping it going, guys.
Yeah,
We're keeping
happy
it going.
Mother's Day. Yes,
Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day, people.
Happy Mother's Day. Bye.
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 Hi, Donna.
Z, call me.
Thank you, Nikki. I love you.
Lisa,
What?
you have so many great